Good morning to everyone. On behalf of Corinne and Tony, Dana, Naomi, Maddie and Nate, and the entire family, we thank you for joining us this morning in what I know is not necessarily the space we want to be this morning. But here we are, to honor and to recall the life of a beautiful, soulful woman who brought joy and heart into this world. I'm Rabbi Jason Navarez, joined along with Rabbi Cantor Arlene Bernstein, Rabbi Cantor Jeremy Gimbel, to support this family, this beautiful family that I know we grieve with this morning. As we gather with hearts heavy to mourn the sudden and unexpected passing of Rebecca Newman, we know that in moments like these, our grief is truly profound and our sense of loss overwhelming. We're reminded of the fragility of life and the mystery of God's plan. Yet, even in our darkest hour, we have a beautiful tapestry of memory as we cling to the words of our tradition and the comfort of our community. We say, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, blessed is the true judge, acknowledging that while we do not understand why this has happened, we trust in God's wisdom and mercy. We honor Rebecca's memory with the words Zichronah Livracha, may her memory always be for blessing. And we will recite the Mourner's Kaddish and Psalms that enable us to draw strength from our faith and from one another. How does one measure the life of an individual? One thing that I've come to learn in my years in the rabbinate is that people may not necessarily remember what you say, but they will certainly remember how you made them feel. To already know and learn more of Rebecca's extraordinary imprint on people's lives as a wife, a partner, a mom, a grandmother, a sister, a friend, a pillar of exemplary service throughout our San Diego community, there are countless individuals that are able to share, and you'll hear some of them this morning, about her menschlichkeit, her kindness and generosity. Her way in the world was truly of the heart. Her giving in time and treasure was extraordinary, and we have been blessed by her and her family's presence in our lives, both here at Beth Israel and throughout our greater San Diego community. We learn in our scriptures in the words of Ecclesiastes that there's a season set for everything, a time for all those experiences that are under heaven, a time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for birthing and a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. And this time of mourning is complicated, and it's filled with emotions and memories that are both bitter and sweet. And we begin our service this morning with the recitation of psalms and prayers that link Rebecca's life with an almost 4,000-year-old tradition of the people of Israel and the eternity of God.
Hineni, here I am, and I can only look down. As I look down, I dwell inward. I come and go, and looking down offers me protection. Protection from seeing, truly seeing, someone else and how they sit in this moment, and protection from them seeing me as I sit in this moment. When I look down, my life is guarded, and I am guarded from yet more harm. When I look down, the sun isn't as bright, and the moon is just an idea. As long as I look down, my hands protect me. I look down even as I neither slumber nor sleep. As long as I look down, my feet are stable. Hineni, here I am, maker of heaven and earth. Help me lift my eyes and sing a song of ascension from the depths of my gaze. In the inside of our pamphlets, Psalm 121. Esaenai Elheharim Me'ain Yavo Ezri Esaenai Elheharim Me'ain Yavo Ezri Ezri Me'im Adonai Ose Shamayim Va'aretz Ezri Me'im Adonai Ose Shamayim Va'aretz. We join together in the English. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. On the front page of our pamphlets, Psalm 23. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai rohi lo echsar. Binoteshe yarbitzeini, al mei menuchot yenahaleni. Nafshi eshovev, yancheni v'maglei tzedek lema'an shemo. Gam ki elech begetz al mavet, lo irara, ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged tzoredai. Dishanta b'shemen roshi kosi devaya. Ach tov chesed yerdefuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti beveit Adonai le'orech yamim. Together, a song of David. Eternal God, you are my shepherd, I shall not want. You make me lie down in green pastures. You lead me beside still waters. You restore my soul. You guide me in paths of righteousness for the sake of your name. Even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. With rod and staff you comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever.
Becky Newman, a mother of generations, a woman of great strength, a woman of valor, and a soldier for her people. Eshet Chayil mi'imtza. She was extraordinary in the gifts she gave her family and her community and the Jewish people. Her children have found trust and truth in those gifts, and they truly follow the patterns that she taught. Always clothed in strength and dignity, she looked forward to the future, speaking with wisdom and the teaching of kindness on her lips, generously giving to those in need. And we who knew her have benefited and learned from her wisdom. Rabot banot asu chayil va'at alit kulana. Many, many daughters of Israel have fought valiantly for their families and our people. But today, Becky, you excel them all. I started by sharing that Becky was a mother of generations, and she was an amazing grandmother. And today, Maddie and Nate, I want to say to you that you returned that extraordinary love to her in kind. I watched you both hold her up when your grandfather died. You were the lights of her life, and you learned how to care for and love her from the first generation, from Corinne and Dana and Tony. No one could have had more loving and caring children and grandchildren than Becky, and we who were privileged to observe that love are grateful. Becky died on Shabbat, a Shabbat which closed the book of Numbers and closed her life on earth. But it did not end the Torah of her life. Her teaching will be continuous. Just as the book of Deuteronomy is a review of the Torah, so will be this day and the days, weeks, and months and years to follow, the continuous stories and celebration of her life, some of which we will hear today. And we will be shared those beautiful stories by her daughters, Corinne Toronto and Dana Newman, Marianne Scher and Burdell Katz, Barry Sweet, Brian Satoski and Nikki Mellett, and her son, Tony.
First, thank you for being here. It would have meant the world to my mom, and it means the world to us as well. It's only been months since we were standing up here eulogizing our dad. We don't want to be standing up here again, but it's important to us that we honor our mom in the same way, so we'll do our best. Mom had a wonderful childhood. She was born in Chicago, Illinois, and spent most of her childhood in the nearby suburbs of Glencoe with her doting parents, Ruth and Arthur, her brother, David, her beloved sister, Naomi. She was a proud alumni of both New Trier High School and the University of Michigan. Mom and Dad were set up by her grandmothers shortly after Mom graduated from college. They fell in love quickly, and that love lasted and grew over a lifetime. They had an amazing 56 years together. They kept up close family bonds, made incredible friendships, traveled the world, and enjoyed countless adventures. We hope and pray they are both together again now and at peace. In 1976, Mom was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. She went through a course of treatment, including surgery and heavy radiation that was still experimental at the time. And while the damage from the radiation would be what eventually ended her life this past week, it saved her at the time and gave her 48 additional years. She was so grateful for that medical miracle and was determined to give back and make her life count as much as possible. And that she did. While she had a successful real estate practice, she dedicated the vast majority of her professional time to philanthropy and nonprofit work. She loved art and during her childhood volunteered at the Museum of Fine Art in Balboa Park. She was incredibly passionate about supporting the Jewish community in Israel. She served in a variety of philanthropic roles related to this, including as the board chair of the San Diego Jewish Federation, as the national chair of the United Jewish Federation Women's Division, and as a vice chair of the American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee overseeing Latin America. She developed strong relationships and worked closely with elected officials on Jewish causes, from Pete Wilson and Dianne Feinstein in California, to Hillary Clinton in Washington, D.C., to Shimon Peres and Yitzhak Rabin in Israel. Mom was also passionate about furthering the health sciences and took on professional roles to support this. She served as the UCSD Associate Vice Chancellor of Development and raised the funds to build the UCSD Moores Cancer Center. She served as the Salk Institute Vice President of External Affairs, where she spearheaded historic campaigns funding critical research. Most recently, in her so-called retirement, she had been honored to consult with the Sanford Burnham Prebys Institute for Medical Discovery, assisting them with their development efforts. She was a true leader. She was a doer. She knew how to command a room. Whether speaking one-on-one or to hundreds, she was eloquent and compelling. Mom loved to entertain and fill her home with love and laughter and celebration. She loved our many holidays with the Katz and Schur families, and she loved the dinners that my mom and dad had monthly for over 40 years with her gourmet group. She loved her annual summer weeks with Barry and Errol. She loved coffee ice cream and a French martini, although not necessarily together. She loved good times and wonderful discussions with her book club and her movie group. She loved the symphony and theater and went to both as often as possible. She loved to shop, especially with Marianne and Burdell and my Aunt Joni whenever she was in Michigan. She tolerated and even kind of developed an appreciation for the sports that we and our dad constantly followed. She loved to travel, and she and my dad went all over the world. Her favorite places, though, were always her home in San Diego, the beach at our parents' place in Mexico, and the old city of Jerusalem. Her mom was beautiful. None of us ever figured out exactly how my dad managed to land her. In high school, our guy friends had crushes on her. As we got older, people continued to come up to us regularly and ask what it was like to have such a beautiful mother. More than anything, though, our mom was just the best wife and the best mom and the best grandmother. She spoiled our dad endlessly. She and my dad gave us every gift a child could possibly want. She taught us how to be the type of people we strive to be. She showed us that a woman could do it all, be a wonderful wife, mother, and friend, a successful professional, and a giving member of her community, and do it well. She and our dad let us know we were loved every single second of every day. She cherished her sister Naomi and her sister Joni and brother-in-law Neil. She was so thrilled to have Tony as her son-in-law. And it's hard to express the level of joy that Maddie and Nate brought to her life. Maddie and Nate, you two were her greatest lights. She treasured every opportunity she had to be with you. Maddie, I remember how excited she was to take you on your first trip to Paris. And Nate, it was much less glamorous, but 2 years ago, she spent her 76th birthday taking you to a lacrosse tournament, where even though she had to get up early to go to the field, spend her birthday dinner watching a Padres playoff game, and stay at what she referred to as a completely subpar Ritz-Carlton. She was just thrilled to be with you. She saw the future in the two of you and knew that you would help make the world a better place. She loved you more than words can say.
Without a doubt, my mom was the most brilliant, strongest woman we've ever known. Becky was the boss, and we all knew it. She always carried herself elegantly, acted impeccably, balanced high-pressure jobs while being an extremely present mother, wife, grandma, and friend, and somehow made it look all so easy. She was an incredible role model. My mom inspired everyone to be better and be stronger, and she was the most universally admired and respected person we've ever known. The side of her we don't think some people know is the private, softer side of Becky. The side where every night after dinner, she would come to the family room where we were watching TV, holding her brush, and would then lie down with her head in one of our laps so we could brush her hair. The side of her that created a special holiday, Aunt's Day, to be celebrated the day before Mother's Day each year, just so that I would also feel loved and appreciated. The side of her that would not let us leave for a short plane flight without a bag packed full of 3 meals, just in case we got stranded and might starve. The side of her that spent a lot of time and put some elaborate detail into planning the pool Olympics for the family Mexico trip every year. She took that very seriously. The side of her that would make love soup and special grandma pancakes for her beloved grandkids. And she would cook elaborate meals for her grand dogs as if they were at a 5-star dog resort. The Becky Newman that we knew was so much more than the powerhouse persona she presented. She was just our mommy. And if you were one of the lucky ones able to break through her powerful outer shell and were in her intimate circle, you knew what a truly warm, loving, caring, thoughtful, generous, and fun person she really was. We've all been devastated since the passing of my dad, and we know many of you here have as well. Losing him was shocking and heartbreaking for all of us, but especially for our mom. However, she loved us all so much, especially Maddie and Nate, that she was determined to keep on going and being the best mother, grandmother, colleague, and friend she could continue to be to all of us. We were truly in awe of her resilience, courage, and strength over this last year. One thing that I will always be grateful for is that despite the unspeakable circumstances of my dad's passing, it did bring my mom and I together and bond us in a new and deeper way. We were always very close, but in the time we spent together this past year, our relationship grew to a new level that were even possible. And we got to know each other in a way we never had before. Talked more often in ways we never talked, shared our daily activities and routines in ways we'd never done before. We became the closest of friends, confidants, roommates, and companions. Culminating, of course, in our recent trip to Iceland. I had the honor of going in place of my dad to travel with my mom, Mary Ann and George Scher, Dick and Burdell Katz, to Iceland. And what a fabulous trip it was. It's hard to believe it was only a few weeks ago. Don't worry, Schers and Katz's, I will honor our commitment that what happens in Iceland stays in Iceland. I will never divulge to your children or anyone else what shenanigans I may or may not have witnessed. So, despite the heartache that we've been living through, I will always and forever cherish the amount of incredibly meaningful and quality time that my mom and I were able to spend together this past year. Mom, I will love you and miss you dearly every single moment. I do want to make a quick promise in front of everybody for something I know you worry very much about, which is I promise to never go skydiving or willingly jump out of a perfectly good plane. And although I can't absolutely guarantee this, I will try to keep my gas tank above half full and have a $20 bill on me, even though no one uses cash. In trying to continue on without our mom here with us, Corinne and I and Tony, Maddie, and Nate will remember that we have been so blessed to have spent the time we did with her. We will always have our special memories, and we will always know that when we are unsure of something in this life, to think, what would Mom do? What would Grandma do? What would Becky do? And we'll have our answer. We want to thank you all from the bottom of our hearts. We appreciate your continued love and support more than we can express. And we have to remember that my parents lived extraordinary lives, and it was in large part due to the people here in this room. We love you all, and thank you for being here.
Mom, we love you so very, very much. We don't know how we got so incredibly lucky to have you and Dad as our parents, but we did, and we will do our best to pay back that good fortune as we live our lives. We will miss you for eternity, but we'll also carry your love and strength with us forever. We will take care of one another. Daddy, you take care of Mommy, and Mommy, you take care of Daddy. We love you.
Becky Newman was many things to many people, but to us, she was the ultimate friend, with whom we had an unwavering bond and countless memories. Together, we shared over 85 years of friendship. I met Becky 45 years ago at the San Carlos Tennis Club when I was asked to sub in a doubles game. A very young, attractive woman in a cute tennis outfit said, "Hi, I'm Becky Newman, your partner." And I said, "Well, hi, I'm Marianne Scher." We started playing tennis, and it was clear to me that we were both on the same level, mediocre at best. When she bent down to pick up a ball, I noticed blue marks on her chest. I had not a clue as to what that meant. After the game was over, she asked me to go to the ladies' room with her because she was not feeling well. She then proceeded to get sick. She cleaned herself up, and we sat down on the bench in the locker room, and she told me about her history of Hodgkin's disease and radiation therapy. From that moment on, we just clicked. We became lifelong friends. This certainly was not the typical way to make new friends.
My husband first met Becky before I did. They met at an APAC convention. He came home and said to me, "You have to meet the woman that I was introduced to at the convention. She is just so special." After we met, I agreed. She was just so special. From there on began a lifelong relationship with Becky and her family. Together, we celebrated countless life cycle events and holidays. Those of us who celebrated with the Newmans that Becky always pulled out all the stops, the china, the silver, even the tablecloth that she used was part of the family history to be shared with her friends. She set a beautiful table and prepared delicious meals, from soup to gefilte fish to her delicious renowned soccer torte. She was the ultimate hostess and chef, not only for her dear friends, but also for her dear beloved Larry, for whom she prepared a full-course meal every night. Who does that? Becky did.
Over the course of 40-plus years, the Newman Katzes and Schers have traveled most of the world together, by land, by sea, by car, by plane, even by helicopter. And at every new stop, Becky insisted on visiting the Jewish quarter and local synagogues. And if none existed, we settled for the Jewish cemetery. Never far from her roots, she made every adventure memorable. Just a short month ago, we were in Iceland with Becky and Dana. Ever the good sport, and because she never wanted to miss an opportunity for us to be together, she joined us everywhere, went as far as she could with that beautiful smile on her face. The memory of the three of us posing at Iceland's waterfalls will stay with us always. In fact, she bought us these bracelets when we were in Iceland because we didn't know what city we were in. And this bracelet states the city we were in. I still don't know what the city is. Do you?
No.
Oh, okay.
The three of us celebrated every Jewish holiday together and hosted each and every child and grandchild's life cycle celebration. Let me give you an example. 3 months ago, my granddaughter celebrated her bat mitzvah in Los Angeles. Unfortunately, Becky had a funeral to attend that Friday morning. I told her to come on Saturday with Corinne and Dana, not to worry about it, you'll be there, Saturday is fine. She would not listen. This is what she did. She hired a car and driver and went to the funeral in San Diego. Then she had the driver take her to the hotel in Los Angeles, where he waited while she changed her clothes. And then she came to the temple for the Friday night service. I have to add that the next morning, a lot of us went for a walk. I didn't, and we had a hair and makeup session, and Becky came down to the hair and makeup room and actually thanked me for the opportunity to be with my family during that weekend. Who does things like that? A friend like Becky Newman.
Becky was not only versed in the Jewish world, but in our world, she was also an ardent shopper. The three of us flew to San Francisco and Las Vegas, drove to LA and Orange County at least twice a year, and shopped till we dropped. Shopping was really an excuse. What we really loved were the lunches and dinners, having a glass of wine or that famous French martini, and the chance to catch up on our lives with a little gossip thrown in. Well, maybe more than a little gossip. In unfamiliar cities, Burdell and I looked to Becky for directions. She knew exactly where we were at every turn, and we would have been lost without her. As you can imagine, Burdell and I will now be truly lost without her. Her wit, her charm, her sense of fun and adventure will be missed by our families and us.
Our lives will never be the same, but we will be comforted by the many memories we shared. Let's focus on Becky's incredible resilience and the lasting impact she had during her time with us.
My friend, your remarkable bravery will always be a source of inspiration for us, encouraging us to overcome challenges with optimism and strength. We will always be loved and cherish you beyond measure. We love you.
We love you.
Hi, I'm Nikki Mellett, Tanta, Becky, and Uncle Larry's niece. One of the hardest and most comforting parts of losing a loved one is that you can still sense them around you, like they're still here with us. In my mind, I see Tanta in the morning in her robe on Overlake Drive with the magenta tile making golden grams for my brother and me. We appreciate it because we grew up in a non-sugar household. We would gossip about boys, friends, and life. It was very special. I see her gorgeous smile, perfectly coiffed hair, adoring Larry, and laughing at his sometimes inappropriate but hilarious jokes. I hear her articulate voice on the bima of Charlotte Sedek in Michigan, talking about meeting Gloria Steinem, her work with Federation, and being so proud of her. She was a magical and powerful speaker. I smell her distinct Shalimar perfume. I feel her warmth and love for her family. She was so thoughtful, calling on every special occasion, sending presents to Oscar and Bee. This tallis I'm wearing is from them. They brought it back from Israel for my bat mitzvah, and I will cherish it forever. My husband, Stone, said to me on Sunday after she passed that Becky treated us like we were one of her own kids. I truly feel that way too. I think I can speak for everyone that we all just can't believe we have lost Larry and Tanta Becky this year. Dana and Corinne, you have been rocks and amazing support to your mom and dad. She is so proud of both of you. Maddie, Nate, Tony, you are her treasures. Mom and Dad, I'm so sorry for your loss of your brother, sister-in-law, best friends, travel partners, and part of your generation. We all need to carry on the tradition of keeping our future generations close. Let's keep her beautiful memory alive in our senses forever. Tanta Becky, I love you and miss you already so much.
Becky, it's Sunday afternoon, and I'm still trying to get back on Michigan time. Having just returned from leading a solidarity mission to Israel this past week that Becky and I spent so much time discussing and that she was so excited I was leading. While my mission bearing witness to the atrocities of October 7th was incredibly powerful, emotional, and moving, I was receiving and paying close attention to all of the updates on Becky's status that Corinne and Dana were sending to us. Perhaps I was in denial that my fierce and powerful Tanta could ever possibly succumb, but I immediately went numb upon receiving the news that she passed yesterday. Never in my mind did I ever think I'd be giving another eulogy so soon after having just lost my Uncle Larry last year. While I'm gutted for my cousins, I want them all to know that we are and will always be here for you and love you more than words can ever express. My Tanta Becky was the best. While I might have inherited more of my uncle's goofiness, passion for college sports, and appreciation of gorgeous women, I also inherited my aunt's passion for the Jewish community, helping those in need both here and in Israel, and transitioning from a career in real estate to nonprofit fundraising. My earliest childhood memories include visiting San Diego, knowing that Aunt Becky would always have fun plans for us. She'd always take us to fun amusement parks, SeaWorld, the zoo, Tijuana, where I was so excited for the tacos, not realizing they were real steak versus the stuff Taco Bell put in theirs. And of course, Doodle Burger, which I loved. She called me her savior because one time while we were at our cottage in Michiana Shores, Mom and Becky decided to take out our little raft on Lake Michigan, which is known for its strong currents. After a while, I noticed that they had drifted quite far from shore, so I attempted to let Uncle Larry and Dad know that they seemed more concerned about whatever they were discussing. I watched them drift further away and decided to take it upon myself to go rescue them. Now, in all honesty, they probably could have eventually figured out how to paddle back themselves, but I didn't want to take that chance, so I rowed another boat out there and brought us all back safely to shore. While they were still with us, Becky would make sure that we spent a lot of time with our grandparents, Omi and Papa. Becky and Larry were so loving, and I enjoyed speaking with them so often. As organized and focused as Becky was on her family and work, she admittedly was a tad slow when it came to birthdays, and always apologized to me for not sending a card or a gift in time. However, it always arrived and was always greatly appreciated. Becky was an incredible mentor and sounding board and always advocated for me and everyone in our family. She was so proud of my involvement as a Jewish lay leader and played a pivotal role in my decision to accept a position working for the Jewish Federation of Detroit. We had so many common connections throughout the world of Jewish leadership, and every time I bumped into someone who knew or who had worked with Becky, they all said what a powerhouse she was. She was the difference maker and inspired others to follow her lead. Her efforts helped to ensure the legacy and continued success for so many organizations, and she left enormously huge shoes to fill for those that followed in her path. While we are here mourning my beloved aunt, there are literally thousands of people around the world who share our pain and grief. This void she left can never be filled, but the lessons and memories she left us all with should comfort us, knowing she made us all better for knowing her. While I'm happy she's no longer in pain, I'm selfishly mad that I'll never get to see her again or have any more of our hour-long conversations about life, work, and family. Let's celebrate Becky for bettering our lives versus focusing on what went wrong at the end. I love you today and forever, Tanta, and know that your memory will always be for a blessing. Love and kisses, your handsome nephew. Her words, not mine.
To reminisce about a lifetime of friendship in a few words could never do justice to the most precious relationship one could imagine. But here goes. It was nearly 53 years ago that the Newmans and the Sweets met at a holiday party welcoming the new ophthalmology residents to the University of Michigan program. No sooner had we been introduced that Becky made a beeline for the ladies' room, and I followed. It seemed that morning sickness had overtaken her, Dana. And Marianne, there must be something about bonding with Becky in a ladies' room when she gets sick. I never knew that. It's crazy, right? Well, I tried to be of help, and by the end of the evening, we had made plans to have lunch. I remember so well, on a bitter cold December day, Becky and I sat across from one another in the venerable old Win Schuler's restaurant in Ann Arbor. For several hours in front of a crackling fire and sharing a crock of Schuler's cheddar cheese or whatever that was, we began to build a friendship that was to deepen and endure for decades, despite the hundreds of miles that would separate us only 3 years later. Countless moments, experiences shared all over the world, in Israel, in Europe, in Puerto Vallarta, so many margaritas, and just simply over hundreds of dinners in the summers in San Diego. All of these and more built a treasure trove of unforgettable memories. How I wish that in recent years we had spent more time reminiscing, laughing and crying and revisiting those irreplaceable moments. I wish that I had told Becky once again how much she meant to me and how much I admired her always. Her strength and determination in overcoming Hodgkin's disease and then going on to a successful career in real estate. Her talent, her creativity, expressed not only through the beautiful ceramic pots that I treasure, but also through her remarkable culinary skills and the ease and grace with which she entertained friends, family, and colleagues as well. Speaking of Becky's mastery of all things gourmet, let me interrupt myself with a brief anecdote. Early marriage, with its tight budgets, meant that we all had to economize. And a tuna fish sandwich for dinner was a frequent staple, wasn't it? And maybe some canned fruit cocktail for dessert, like yuck. But only Becky would come up with a way to make Larry happy with the mundane. You should have seen his face light up when she would top off a modest meal with her homemade peach melba. Your mom really did take good care of your dad, didn't she? There was So much else to admire about Becky, especially as she rose to the pinnacle of leadership in the Jewish philanthropic world and beyond. I wish I had told her in so many words how much in awe I was of her remarkable professional accomplishments that followed and the impact she had in her own community. She was the best role model ever for me, and I'm sure for many others. And finally, I wish I had told her yet again what a wonderful mom she was, what incredible daughters she and Larry had raised, and how much I loved them, and Tony too. She set a wondrous example of a powerful, accomplished woman for Corinne and Dana to emulate. Lots of I wishes, I know, and there are so many more I could share. But most of all, I just wish I could say to Becky, one more time, I love you, Beck, my dearest, dearest friend.
First, I want to thank all of you, family and friends, for coming here today. It means the world to all of us. You might hear a couple common themes. None of us shared what we were going to say beforehand, but I recognize Becky's touched so many of us in so many of the same ways. My first memory of Mom was at the Prescott in San Francisco. Mom and some of her besties had come to the Prescott for its proximity to their favorite fashion destinations, Wilkes-Bashford chief among them. On this particular occasion, their secondary purpose at the Prescott was to interrogate me. They had done this before with Corinne's previous boyfriend. He failed the test. I passed. I don't remember much about the Inquisition itself, but I do remember something else. I remember seeing the special bond Mom had with her girlfriends. And I recognized what that meant. A lesson I learned from my own mother, Mom Toronto. It takes a woman who is loving, loyal, and generous to have friends like that. Corinne and I dated for the next 18 months or so, and I got to know Mom better during that time, sort of. She was always elegant and pleasant. But unlike Dad, who was the warmest, friendliest guy from day one, Mom was a bit distant, almost professional, like I was on an extended interview. She was a tough nut to crack. I later learned the reasons. On the one hand, Corinne had previously brought home other guys who Mom didn't think were so great, so she was in trust but verify mode. On the other hand, Mom didn't want to get too attached, just in case things didn't work out. Even so, something happened that endeared me to Mom in those early days. Mom and I were chatting in her kitchen. I noticed one of the cabinet doors was listing a bit. So I opened it, examined the hinge, made a couple of adjustments, and closed it. All fixed. Mom looked at me like she had spotted a unicorn in the forest. Jewish and handy? Dad couldn't change a light bulb, and I was fixing her cabinets. From then on, every time I came in town, she gave me a fix-it list. But whatever distance Mom maintained during the time Corinne and I were dating melted immediately once I proposed. In fact, the first time I saw Mom after Corinne and I got engaged, she and Dad were standing outside a restaurant where we were meeting for dinner. Mom saw me, smiled her big, beautiful smile, wrapped her arms around my neck, and exclaimed one word, "Son." I've called her Mom ever since. Over the months and years that followed, we became extremely close. I admired and adored her more than I can say. I can't count the ways and reasons, but I'll list a few. Mom's leadership in the Jewish community is the stuff of legend. I've long thought of Mom as a sort of lioness, beautiful, nurturing, and devoted to her pride, but also fierce and formidable. In Jewish philanthropy, Mom took the lioness metaphor to another level, literally becoming a Lion of Judah, a designation awarded only to the most dynamic, philanthropic Jewish women in the world. Her commitment to the Jewish community was evidenced by local leadership at Jewish Federation of San Diego, by national leadership with Jewish Federation of North America, and by international leadership with the Joint Distribution Committee. An ardent supporter of Israel and world Jewry, Mom befriended and worked closely with multiple Israeli prime ministers, including Yitzhak Rabin and Shimon Peres. Then in her next act, Mom became a nationally recognized leader and a local icon in the philanthropic community. At UCSD, first as the Associate Vice Chancellor of Development for Health Sciences, and then for the whole university, Mom transformed the university and our own very city. Not done yet. Mom went to the Salk Institute, one of the world's preeminent research institutions, where she launched and exceeded Salk's first major fundraising campaign to support scientific research, dramatically increased private fundraising, and helped support numerous programs, including programs for women in science. Of course, though many know her astonishing contributions from her life's philanthropic and professional work, to our family, she was wife, mom, and grandma. Mom was completely devoted to Dad. She loved him for the gentle husband, wonderful father, and talented doctor he was. She loved to laugh and adored him both for, and sometimes in spite of, his goofiness and sense of humor. They lived a beautiful life together, traveled the world together, shared countless good times with family and friends, and stood by each other through hard times, even when Dad got sick. That said, their real life's work. Their opera, or their two amazing daughters. Mom and Dad loved Corinne and Dana utterly and completely from the moment they were born, even before they were born, I'm sure. And Mom not only nurtured them lovingly their whole lives, but Corinne has told me how important it was for her as a girl to learn from Mom's example that it is possible to have a career and a family, and that no career choice would be unattainable because she was a girl. And Mom modeled other things too. Remember how I previously mentioned Mom's close, deep relationships with her girlfriends and what that means? Well, look at Mom's daughters and their fabulous friends. And there's much, much more. This year, in these last 3 weeks in particular, Corinne and Dana, both of you have shown not only tremendous love and compassion for your parents, but also extraordinary grace despite terrible sorrow. To Corinne, the love of my life, I am in awe of you. Of course, then there are the little ones, or not so little ones, such as they are. Maddie and Nate, once you came along, your mom and Aunt Dana became second fiddle in your grandparents' eyes. I can replay in my mind scenes of them showering you with love in our first house, in our second house, in our current house, in Puerto Vallarta, and everywhere else. I'm so sorry you lost both Papa and Grandma this year. But they left you an extraordinary and truly priceless gift. We moved to San Diego when Maddie was only 9 months old. Since then, as I reminded Maddie last night, you spent more time with Grandma and Papa in any one year than I spent with all of my grandparents combined in my entire life. That means that Grandma and Papa have imprinted on you deeply. They are part of you. You will hear their voices for the rest of your lives. This past Saturday, Mom succumbed to her injuries after a brutal 2.5 weeks. We take comfort in knowing she is no longer suffering, and we know that our own grief, while still in its early stages, is part of healing. On Saturday night after Mom passed, Corinne, Maddie, Nate, and I had dinner together at our home. We discussed not only how Mom would want us to persevere these next days, but how she would want us to live the rest of our lives. How we should live by her example. I told Maddie and Nate that if they ever wondered about the right thing to do, they should just ask themselves, what would Grandma say? Because whatever she would say would almost certainly be right. Mom, I love you forever. Your memory will always be a blessing.
In our tradition, we have a way of honoring people, and we call the word kavod, or respect, honor, dignity. And it's the same root in Hebrew for kibed, which means weightiness and substance. Today we heard kibed, we heard substance, we heard beauty, we heard moments that are gonna reverberate in our minds and our hearts and our souls as we walk out of here onto life. And to all of you, knowing that the equation of substance and respect are so pinnacle and equated in our tradition, that to honor Becky's memory today is to know that her substance is the respect and honor and the dignity that we hold in our hearts today. So thank all of you for sharing and enriching us with her beauty, her passion, her thoughtfulness, her kindness, her leadership, her menschlichkeit, as an Esther's chayel, as a woman of valor. A few brief announcements before we begin concluding our service this morning. Immediately following the conclusion of this service, there will be an interment following at El Camino Memorial Park in San Diego. It's about 7 minutes from here, from our campus, as well as the family is inviting you back to Corinne and Tony's home immediately following for a luncheon after the interment at 8074 Doug Hill, as well as this evening there will be a Shiva service at 7 p.m. at Corinne and Tony's home as well. If you are inclined to make donations of any kind, the family has directed you to do so in memory and loving memory of Becky to Curebound, the Jewish Federation of San Diego, and Congregation Beth Israel.
We rise together. As we turn to the inside of our pamphlet for El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim Shochein Bamromim Hametzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShechina Im Kedoshim U'Tehorim K'Zohar HaRakia Mazirim
את נשמת רבקה בת שמואל ורות, שהלכה לעולמה, בגן עדן תהא מנוחתה. אנא בעל הרחמים, יסיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור החיים את נשמתך. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוחה בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen. Together in the English. God filled with mercy, who dwells on high, bring proper rest beneath the wings of your presence, amid the ranks of the holy and pure, to Rebecca Rappaport Newman, who has entered eternity. The Garden of Eden will be her resting place. May you, who are the source of mercy, shelter her beneath your wings eternally, and bind her soul in the bond of everlasting life. Eternal God, you are her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
I invite you to turn in your pamphlets to the Kadisha Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. Words written in Aramaic and Hebrew that mention nothing of death, created by the rabbis to honor the teachers in our lives. Then those that are the Avelim, the mourners, would share those words to honor the teachers in their lives, the immediate family members. And in our progressive Jewish community, we've come collectively together to say those words because there are those that don't have anyone to say Kaddish for them as well. Whatever your custom, we invite you to join with led by our Avelim, our mourners, as we recite the Kadisha Tome. Yitzgadal
V'yitkadash Shmei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach lirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon u'b'yomechon u'b'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'b'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei Kedusha B'richu, Le'ela Mikol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'nechemata, Damiran Be'alma V'imru Amen. Yehi Shmama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mromav, U'yaseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. As we ask God to send peace and comfort to all who mourn, we also say those words, Zichronah Libracha. May Becky's memory, may her love, may her passion in life continue to always inspire and be for blessing. As we say together, Amen.
Amen. Would like to invite the pallbearers, Tony Taranto, Jason Taranto, Brian Satofsky, Nate Taranto, Neil Satofsky, George Scher, Dick Katz, and Errol Sweet, to the front. Please remain standing and allow the family to follow.